This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning,
So
Sujit.
gone through the good morning. Gone through the exception session, first video, the basic part.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sujit, I did not get time. Sorry, yesterday was a hectic day. Sorry.
Okay, then how you'll understand today? Okay, I'll give brief about that.
Yeah, that would help. Thank you.
So, how many have you gone through? Only Shalini. What about others?
I think Ranji.
Nisha also gone through. Okay, Raghu, Manju.
Yes.
Okay, that's correct. So I talk about advanced courses. I mean, few people are not given the confirmation who are want to go with. I think Guru Raj, Neeraj, and Santosh has taken. What about others? You guys don't want or are still thinking?
Sujit, I will take it.
Okay. Certification from your side? You have voucher
I
or
have
only
the
courses?
no, I have the voucher, Sujit.
Okay, the courses. Okay, you can call me on my WhatsApp. Okay, I'll inform them. I mean, nothing to inform you. Just continue to payment to my account. That means my phone pay or GPay. Okay, it's up to you. Yeah, Nisha, what about you?
No, Sujit, I will not take it.
Okay, Manju,
Yes, Sujit, I'll take that.
you will take it. Okay, so you have my number, right? Just ping me. I will call you at 11 o'clock today. Is it okay? My 11 o'clock, my 11:30. Sorry, we'll discuss.
Okay, Sujit.
Yeah, yeah. So here, when I discuss about see exception handling concept, yesterday I uploaded that video. I haven't gone through that. Most of the majority of the people have gone through that. So just I will give a brief if anyone not gone through because today's session is totally depends on this one, right? So what I have done, I mean, when the client is sent a request, my listener will listen for the request, converts into event. It will be success event, then it will go to the next processors. When it is processed by some processor, at that processor level, if you get any exception, we will call that as an error object got created. When any exception occurs, an error object got created, right? So in we can call that as success event is from now onwards will be treated as a error event. It's an event. Okay, error event or a success event both are having a attributes payload and a variables. Okay, it's an event, and that error event will check. I mean, sorry. First step is error object got created. Second step, the error information will be logged onto the console. So that error information contains what multiple properties. Out of the two important properties are description and error type. So entire error information, what type of error it is in description way and object way, it will be shown in the error information on your console. Okay. Next, the subsequent process will not get executed. Subsequent processors will not get executed, right? Then the error will check in the local the error event. I mean, definitely someone should process that error event, right? The next processor stopped. Who will process that error event? The logic present in the error handling section. That means if you catch that exception, catching the exception means writing an alternate logic for the existing logic, right? So if in the my main flow, in this flow, if you have any exception, if it is stopped, if at all it is stopped, then that processor, that event should be processed by some processors which is present in the error handling section. If you don't configure anything in the local error handler, someone should process. Who will catch that exception in that case? Exception means error event. Who will process that error event? If you don't write any logic in the error handling block, who are gone through, you should tell me.
Global error handling.
Mule, no, no. In the
Mule
local error
default.
handler only, Yeah, in the local error handler, if you don't configure any logic to catch that exception, who will catch that exception? Mule default error handler will catch the exception. That is a default option. Okay. From your side, if you don't have any logic to write alternately, then automatically Mule default error handler will catch the exception. Okay. Then what is the Mule default error handler doing here? Same. The error event simply it will rethrow to the next level. Next level in this case, if you have only one flow, it is straightforward the listener, right? If you have multiple flows and if you get an exception at the child flow, the error event will go to the next level, means main
Main
flow
flow.
flow reference. Okay. And rethrow, I mean rethrowing, I say mule default error handler catching the exception means that error handler, that means that error will be rethrow to the listener or main flow. Okay. Now I said error is an object. It is having two important properties you can display to the client. You can write in the response window either error.description or error.type. Description is string type, so it will describe about that application. When you write a error.description, when you write error.error type, so it is an object type. It is an object type. So object means key value pairs will be there, right? What are the key value pairs here? Every error will be uniquely identified by two factors. What are those? Namespace and the identifier, that is called error type. Namespace represents namespace represents the component name. Namespace represents the component name. Okay. Identifier represents at that component level what type of error exactly it is. For example, I used a consume connector. If the third party server is down, right, so you will be getting some exception like WSC cannot dispatch. WSC is nothing but web service consumer. Web service consumer cannot dispatch is nothing but exactly the error type. So based on the cannot dispatch, you should understand the third party server is down. Some other error types also present, can be possible under a web service consumer. What is that? Bad request, right? Like that many other I will show you, right? So basically error type to identify exactly what type of error it is. Understand? All the errors at your application level where which you can handle at your end, that means you are able to handle that, those comes under any type. So all these error types at your application level, like consume connector level, HTTP level, at transformer level, if you get any exception, those comes under any type. And what comes under critical? Fatal error, memory outage, overload, all this comes under critical, which is not in your hand to catch, right? So right now tell me, HTTP connectivity will comes under any type or critical type?
Any
Yeah, it comes under critical type
Any,
or any, I mean, it's a any type.
any
any.
So just I want to understand how far you are able to understand the concept. Let me ask few questions here. What is an error type?
object.
Hmm?
Error type is an object.
Error type is an object. Okay, what is that used for?
It gives you information about the namespace and identifier.
So what are those namespace and identifier? What is used? What is the use of that?
Namespace tells you where the error is occurring, like
At which component level?
HTTP. Yeah.
At which component level? At the same time, what type of error it is exactly in that component? Correct.
Yes.
So what is the mule default error handler? Others also please participate. Yes, please. Yeah, what is the mule default error handler? What it will do? What is the responsibility of that?
In case we have not given any error handler in our flow, then it will be handled by null default error handler.
Not in the output, in the error handling section. in the error handling block, if you don't configure any logic on your own, then by default someone should process that event, right? That's why it will process. Mule default error handler will process that event. Process means it will rethrow, it will send the event to the error event to the listener. That is the responsibility of that, right? So I want you to go through this use case. We have a main flow, validate and transform flow, and get product by name flow. These are the three flows. First I have a listener. Let me explain this use case quickly. Gururaj, you're able to follow me, right?
Yes, Sujit, I'm able.
Yeah. Okay. So error, and I'm creating one variable, and by extracting query parameter, assuming that we are getting some input request with the query parameter product name, right? Then the flow reference, which is invoking a validate and transform flow. The event is sent to validate and transform flow. So in this validate and transform flow, what I'm trying to do, I'm using a is true validator. Is true validator. So what is that is true validator is doing? It is extracting. I mean, I have written some expression. Whatever the value you pass through query parameter, if it is part of this array, then I say is true is a validator, right? It is validating. And that means the expression is success. If the expression is success, it is a boolean kind of an operator. That means true or false. I can say it is true. The true means I don't have any exception at is true validator level. Okay. If at all the expression is failed, I can say I have an exception at is true validator level. Okay. So totally depends on the input request. It will be decided whether it's a true or a false. Assume that as of now it is a true. Then the event is sent to transform message. So in this transfer message, if you can see, I have written some XML tag get product by name request where I'm passing name attribute by extracting the variable. So finally, what is the body here? XML body with the get product by name request root tag and name attribute with a HP or a MAC as a value. That will become a payload value, which I will give. I mean, you can see here I'm using a flow reference which is invoking other flow where the first component is a consume connector. So you know consume connector is used for what?
SOAP service.
To consume the SOAP APIs. So SOAP APIs are expecting the input in which format? XML format. That's what I'm trying to give to through transfer message, XML input. Another way, you know, when you are consuming a SOAP application, we discussed. What is that? By creating one template manually and using a parse template, we used to send the input request, right? This I said on the day. I will be showing another way. Since you are aware of the transformer now, what I have done, I have created one XML payload. That payload I am giving as an input to the consume connector where it invoke get product by name flow, get product by name operation. So with the HP or a MAC accordingly, the response will come, and whatever the response I got, it will be just logged out of the console, and finally it will be converting into the JSON format. Okay. Now what I should do, I deploy this application purposefully. I will send some uh, invalid name. So let's see where I'm going to get an exception. I'm not sending HP value, I'm sending invalid name. So where I'm going to get an exception, guys? At which component level?
It's true.
Validator.
Is true validator. Now you can see the first step what I told, one error object got created. So till now, till the is true validator is a success event. From now onwards it will be considered as an error event. So that error event will inform, that means it will send the entire error information on the console. You can see these are the 6 elements I'm talking about which give entire error information, right? Third step, subsequent process like transfer message, all this process will not get executed. That means that process got terminated here itself. Okay. Then who will process that error event now? That error event will be processed by Mule default error handler implicitly. So because when it is checking in the local error handler, is there any alternate logic written? No, right? So Mule default error handler will catch that exception. Catching the exception means rethrowing the error to the main flow reference. Rethrowing the error to the main flow reference. So now can I treat that I got an exception at a main flow level? Yes, no. I got an exception at a processor, flow reference processor. So all the steps to be repeated again. Since already for that error object for that same error already event got created, again one more event will not be created. At the same time, already the same for the same error information is logged onto the console. Correct. So here also the same error, right? Already information is logged onto the console. The third step, subsequent process will not execute. That means the logger present in that main flow after the flow reference, will it get execute? No. So that will not get executed, and the error event will check in the local error handler of a main flow. Here also, did I write any logic to catch that exception? No, right? So who will catch the exception now? Mule default error handler will catch the exception. Means we'll rethrow the error to the listener. What my listener is doing? Yeah, listener is act like a gateway between the client and you. What response to be displayed to the client, it will be decided under response window. Here if you can see, if there are no errors, by default payload will be given. If there are any errors, what is the default body here? The output in a plain format, text format. Error, I said error is one object. Out of that, one property is what? Description. So that's why you can see in the response body invalid product name. Where I have written that description, there we can customize at a is true validator level. On error, if at all if expression is failed, what message you want to display, you can write the invalid product name. This option is available only for a is true validator. Remaining other options, by default the description will be there. Okay, by default the description will be there. Understand how the mule default error handler will catch the exception and what responses will be given to the client? Now,
Sujit,
I don't want a description. I want error type. See, this exception handling is totally a concept. Okay. I will tell different use cases. Mainly, you need to understand how that error event behaves. That's it. Okay. You can apply for any kind of a scenario. Okay. So output, since it is an what do you call the object, I want to display like a application slash JSON. So I done some changes to my application. Let me save it. I think it started. Let me give a request. So what is the response you got? In which format you got the response?
JSON.
It's a JSON object. So what is a namespace? Validation is the namespace. Identifier is invalid boolean. Right? For all this parent namespace and identifier is what? Parent namespace is mule. All these errors identifiers can be comes under a any type. So as I told, all the errors comes under a any type if it is part of your application, if you are able to handle that. So will I not able to handle this? That means handle means while writing is true validate itself, I know that this expression may fail or may success. If expression is failed, I know how to behave, how to handle that in my error handling section while writing itself, while developing the application itself. I may handle it, right? But of course, I didn't handle it. That is a different story. But I can handle it, right? Yes, sir. Which is in your hand. Understand? Till now, it is. Is it clear to everyone? How the mule default error handler will catch the exception? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes.
Sujit, one question.
Yes. A little bit louder.
Uh,
Your voice is not clear.
so in the main flow, you have a flow reference, okay, and in that flow reference, we are getting the error. So that the subflow is through the child flow is throwing the error in the sense it is the Bull default error handler is handling the error in the subflow, child flow, and when the even error object is rethrown to the main flow, so again in the main flow that error is not thrown, right? Like in the console, like only one
Already
time
error
it will be
event
shown in the console.
for the same error event again it will not be created. Already created, right? The same error event only coming to the main flow, right? Yeah. No,
Huh.
it will not create one
So
more event.
even if okay, and even that event will not be thrown in the description in the console, right?
I didn't get you. Sorry. One second. So I got an error event, right? That error event only will
So
throw to the main flow.
no, in console when it is displayed, that is displayed by the first the subflow, right?
First one only. Because the
Ah,
once the same error event is already displayed, when it is trying to display the same error duplicate, right? So already the same error event is see everything you need to visualize in our own format. So they, I mean they have not written anywhere like the error event will come. These are purely our visualizations to understand about a concept. So the error event when it is sent for the same error event already the information is locked, right? So
hmm.
no point in writing the description again for the same error one more time in the log information. So yeah, next two processors will not get executed because it is treating the error is created here from the main flow perspective.
Okay, okay. So even if it is there are 3 levels or 4 levels of subflows, the first
Any flow,
flow,
multiple flows, yeah.
okay,
Until unless if you change that error event to any other error type, generally it will not happen until unless you change it to any other error type. While you are handling the errors you may use some different strategies, different kind of a logic. So in that case if we get any exception again the error event will be updated with the latest error event. Okay, in that case.
okay,
But this is the process. How many flows you have, this is the simple process. How you apply for 2 flows, if you have 100 flows also it will be the same.
good.
Okay, now I want to catch the exception whatever occurs at a is true validator by using a propagate scope. There are two strategies. What are those? On error propagate, on error continue. So on error propagate, let me drag and drop. If we cannot drop at any of the processor level, I can drop only at a error handling section. Okay, that is specifically designed for to catch the exceptions. Okay, now how that error event is behaved I can come to know by debugging. That debugging means by using a logger. Logger is also a similar kind of a debug option, right? Just to see how the event will be sent. Okay, so this logger also should get executed when the event is processed through the propagate scope, right? So I will write I'm in validate and transform flow. Which scope it is? Propagate scope. Okay, now understand and tell me if I deploy this application where I am going to get an exception, how the error event will behave and how it will be cached by the on error propagate. Sequence is very important. If you understand the sequence then only I can say you are through with the exception. Repeat it multiple times, no problem, no nothing we are going to lose. So repeat the steps, similar steps again and again. It should get stick onto your mind. Where I got an exception, where I'm going to get an exception and how it behaves. Yeah, tell me where I got an exception.
Is true.
Validator.
At a is true validator. Okay, next.
It will
It,
go to the error handler.
No, steps are missing. Error event will be created. Created means the success event till now will be converted as a error event. Error object got created, I can say. Next.
the error message will be logged on console.
Little bit louder please.
The error information will be logged on console.
Exactly. Once I give a request, that error information will be logged onto the console. Okay. Third step.
After
Then it is passed on to the main flow.
Madam,
The error event is passed on to the main flow.
is it my mic problem or your mic problem? I don't understand. Okay, now you can speak once. I increase my volume, my speaker volume.
So the error event will now be passed on to the main flow.
Subsequent process will not get executed. Correct. First point we need to understand: subsequent process will not get executed. Sorry. So subsequent third step is what? Subsequent process will not get executed. Then the error event will be processed by the, yeah. So when you are checking in the local error handler, previously we don't have any logic. That's why we said that mule default error handler by default will catch the exception, right? Now, first, when it is checking in the local error handler, you need to understand very important sequence here. First, it will check the handler is present or not. Okay, it could be a propagator, it could be continue, any irrespective of that, any handler is present or not. Because if any handler is present, automatically you should understand uh, automatically you should understand mule default error handler is ruled out. Okay, next, what is the next step? It will check for the type, for what type of exception I want to handle this logic, I want to execute this logic. Is there any type given? No, by default it is any type. For any type of exceptions, this logic will get executed. The second step, actually it will check for the type. Since I don't configure any, by default it will take any type of exception. For any type of exception, the logic will get executed. So third step, the entire logic present inside that handler will get executed. I just for written for demonstration purpose logger, you can write any logic over there. Any logic you write over there. Who will process that event? Error event. The processors present in the handler will process that error event. Okay. Next, updated error event. How it should behave? So we have an updated error event, right? If you have any set payload, if you have any other information transformation, so that will be updated in the event, right? So how the error event will behave now? Decided based on a propagate or a continue. That is the fourth step. First step is what? It will check for the handler is present or not. Second step, for what type of exception, for what type of error event, logic should get executed. Third step, the entire logic will get executed in the event, and that event will behave based on a propagate or a continue scope. Since it's a propagate, same error event is sent to main flow reference. Okay. Next, subsequent process will not get executed. Then the error event will be checking in the local error handler, is there any error handler is configured or not. If nothing is configured, again mule default error handler will rethrow the error to the next level. Next level in this case what? Listener will give error response. Clear? Yes, no? The sequence, is it clear?
Yeah.
Everyone?
Yes.
So what is the response I got? I should say I should get one log. Same error type, because I have given the error type only. And did I get any log here? Info level log, you can see in the last. In VNT flow equal to propagate. That's what I have written in the logger, right? Next, I want to catch the exception. Continue. Can I write more than one error handler in one error handling section? More than one? If I drop here, will it throw any error? See, it is showing that every handler except the last one with the error handler must specify when or a type attribute. So except the last one, if you are coming from any programming background, you might aware like a try catch. That means, sorry, not try catch, sorry, parent exception and child exceptions. Parent exception and a child exception. So will you write a parent exception first or a child exception first? If you are catching any exception, will you write parent exception first or child exception first? We will write child exception first. It will try whether it is the type of that error or not. If any of that error type is not matching, by default the parent exception will catch the incoming exception. For example, let's see here, if I'm getting is true validator, here if I don't specify what for what type of exception you need to handle it, always this by default it is treated as any, right? So always this logic only will execute, no point in configuring any continue, correct? So that's why except the last one, for all the above error types you need to sorry, for all the error handlers above should be configured as a type attribute. Okay, so let's see first of all what is a continue, then we will see about if you write more than one, how to handle it. So just for a change, I will write as a continue. Okay. Now let's save it. Now it's very important, again follow the same sequence, and since I configured a continue, how it works also you should tell me. Meanwhile, can you please guess and tell me?
It
I got an
fails that
exception.
it's true. Yeah.
Is true validator, I got an exception. Next.
Error event is created.
Okay.
Then it will go on to on error continue.
No, subsequent processors will not execute.
Skip. Yeah. So
Then it will check in the local error handling section. Is there any handler is or not? That is the first step. Second step, the type attribute. Since I don't configure, by default it is what? Any type.
any
So the logic will get executed. So whatever the logic present inside, that will get executed. Next, the updated error event, how it should behave depends on the propagator continue. Propagate means the error event will send to next level. In case of a continue, what happens? That error event will be treated as a success event from there. It will suppress the error and it will be treated as a success event. That success event is sent to parent flow. When the success event is coming to the parent flow, what my main flow will treat? It will treat like nothing has happened in the child flow. So my flow reference is receiving a success event. So the next logger present in that parent flow will get executed or not? It should get executed. So in main flow, after getting the all the products, second log I should get as a response. So finally, if there are no errors, what is the response given by the listener to the client? Payload,
so
right? Let's send the request and see whether you are going to get a server error or a 200. What is the rest? Okay, don't worry about the body. It is coming from a cache memory. By default, it will be a payload will be empty because I didn't set any payload value over there. And what is the status code? 200 is the
two.
status code. Got it? Understand
So
difference between a propagate and continue?
Sujit, one question. So when
Yes.
you're saying if it is on continue, it
Hmm.
will be a payload, right?
No, no,
So
no, no.
then
Where in the response window you mean to say?
yes.
HTTP listener
So
response? Yes.
correct.
Yep.
So but for continue, right? We haven't defined any payload. So instead of logger, if you do set payload, it will come that payload into
Yeah,
your listener.
exactly. Because as I told, error event is also event only, which contains attributes, payload, and variable. We are processing that event. How you see that event, either error or a success event, it is totally depends on you.
Okay.
Yeah. What is the difference between a propagate and continue? How that event should behave, decided based on a propagate or a continue handlers. So if in case of propagate, how that event will behave?
Error is
Failure.
thrown to the flow.
Error is sent to the next level. In case of continue, many people will
So
think that that will be processed by that. That means next process in the current flow will get executed. No, already it is stopped, and the error event is handled by the handler. How would the error event is handling decided based on a propagator continue, I said. So in case of a continue, that it will be suppress the error event, it convert into success event. The success event will send to main flow, okay, to the parent flow, I can say. Got it? Clear? Yes, no?
Sujit, then when do
Hmm.
we use on propagate and when do we use on continue?
That's
Because
what that's
then
what
then the whole flow, say that this flow, right? When
simple.
on continue gives you as a success, then that means
Correct.
I will know that okay, my whole flow is successful, right? But it's
No, no,
not
no.
actual success.
No, no, actually, see here. If you want to continue with the next two processors in the parent flow, irrespective of what happens in the child flow, the current flow, then you should use what type of what type of scope? Propagate or continue? It is straightforward continue scope, right? So if you want to execute, if I had any error except error at one of the flow level, I want to terminate the flow, I don't want to execute some next logic, then you need to use a propagate scope. Simple. Propagate means it's terminate the process there itself. Continue means it will continue with the next two processes in the parent flow.
Okay.
Simple. These are very simple things. If you are able to understand the difference between a propagate and continue, it's a, as I told, it's a totally concept. How to apply in your any scenario, it's up to you. So you understanding the concept how it behaves is very very important. Got it? Till now, I catch the exception at a used to validator level, right? Now I will make it as a success. I will send HP value. Okay, I will send a HP value here, and I will remove the continue scope here. Save the application. Where I'm going to get an exception now.
Web service end, right?
So the transformer will be success. Then when it come to the consume connector, I didn't start at the server in behind the scenes, right? I didn't started my API. So you will be going to get an you are going to get an exception at a consume connector level. Consume connector level. Let's see first of all what type of error we are going to get. Accordingly, we will catch that by using a propagate and continue handlers. See where I got an exception. WSC represents what? Web service consumer. Cannot dispatch represents unable to send the request to the application. What is the message? Default message. An error occurred while sending the SOAP request because the third party server is down. Right? So while writing the logic itself, I can write an alternate logic for that. For example, let's take I'm writing a on error propagate. I want to catch the exception which I got at a consume connector level, and I want to execute this logic. I'm in which flow? I'm in get product by name flow equal to propagate. Okay. Now let me drag and drop continue. I will copy this content. I mean the same logger just to ensure that it is a continue. Are you able to see the error? Every handler except the last one with an error handler must specify what type attribute. So when to execute this error? For example, let's take I have a one consume connector. Okay, one consume connector, and if I get a WSC cannot dispatch, then I want to execute only the propagate scope, not the continue scope. So basically it will execute in a top to bottom hierarchy. So for what type of exception you want to execute this logger? Only for a WSC cannot dispatch. The propagate scope should be executed only if it is a WSC cannot dispatch. So in on error propagate, if you just click on that, there is a type attribute. So these all are the error types can be possible at a consume connector level. So what is the exception which you are expecting? WSC cannot dispatch. So I selected that one. See, the error is gone because I specified for what type of errors you want to execute the logic. So yeah, the sequence matters now again. I got an exception at a is true, sorry, consume connector level. Subsequent process will not execute. When it is checking in the local error handler, first step is what? Is there any handler is present or not? Second step, it will check for the type attribute. Previously it was any, now it is type is mentioned, cannot dispatch. Is it matching with the incoming error type?
Yes.
Yes, right? So that is the second step. Third step, the logic present. If it is matching, then only the logic will get executed, right? And how that event after executing the logic, how the error should behave? Propagate. Clear? Is it clear? Propagate means an error event will send to next level. If at all it is not matching, if at all it is not matching, then for example, let's give bad request. Is it matching with the error type?
No.
No, right? So first one will be ruled out. It will go to next error handler. Is it matching now? Continue. Is it matching?
No.
Yes.
Why no? It's an any, right? If you don't configure anything, what I said by default, it's a any
Mm.
type. So that is why always the parent exception should write in the last. Okay. First everything is, if it is not matching, then only you should consider as a any type. So can I write more than one error handler type in one scope? We can
Yes.
configure like we need. Okay. So is it matching now? Consume connector error type?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Next. One more use case. I have connectors, two consume connectors. Two consume connectors are pointing to two SOAP APIs. This is SOAP 1, this is SOAP 2. This is configured with this configuration, second consume connector configured with the second configuration. Okay. Now, the point is, you develop the application and you deploy that on a production server. Suddenly you got an error as WSC cannot dispatch. So this error is coming from first one or second one? The error is coming from the first one or second one?
It will come from both, right?
No, no, no. You deployed the application on the production server. If first one is failed, second will not get execute, right? If first one is success, second one may get exception, correct? It could be any, right? WSA cannot dispatch. How you will identify whether it is coming from the first consume connector or second consume connector? Why I need to identify? Because I want to execute the logic present in the propagate scope only if that exception is coming from the first one. If that exception is coming from the second consume connector, I don't want to execute the logic. That is the requirement. So first we need to identify the error is coming from the first one or second one. Then I can write a condition. Okay, this logic should execute only for this error handling, for this what do you call the error type. So there is a concept called error mapping. At any component level, I can do the error mapping. So at consume connector level, I'm doing a error mapping. So for what type of exception? I want to execute the logic if I get exception as WSC cannot dispatch from the first consume connector. If I have multiple consume connectors, all the consume connectors may get a WSC cannot dispatch only, right? All the WSC cannot dispatch are going to match with the error type. So I don't want that. So that is the reason I am customizing the error to my own error type. So whenever I get an exception at a first consume connector level as WSC cannot dispatch, I want to map that to my own error type. It should be in a capital letters only, app Sujit. So now if I get exception WSA cannot dispatch, where only for the first consume, not for universal. For first consume connector, I get an exception as WSA cannot dispatch internally. I map it to app Sujit. Finally, from the consume connector, you are going to get an exception as app Sujit. So now I can configure, instead of WSA cannot dispatch, can I configure like app Sujit in this case? So this logger will execute only for What type of errors? App Sujit error types. Okay, not for a WSC cannot dispatch. Okay, assume that first one is success. Second consume connector is throwing WSC cannot dispatch. Is it matching?
No.
Definitely not matching. Then it will go to the continuous scope. Understand? This is called error mapping concept. Let's see how it works. I deployed that application.
So, Sujit, this is actually we are customizing the error message, or we are just identifying from which
No,
component
no.
it is coming.
Customizing in the sense creating in your own error type. Your own error type.
Okay.
Map. We'll call that as a error mapping.
And Sujit, suppose in that error handling we have on error propagate and we have given a type like app Sujit and we don't have on error continue. So in that case, the first
Only
one will not
first
executed.
one only. First one only. I mean, whatever it will go in a top to bottom hierarchy. Which one is matching? Propagate is matching, no?
Uh,
App
no,
colon Sujit is matching.
if I get an error in the second consumer and I don't have that on error
Ah,
continue,
very good.
mule
So
default error will handle.
mule default error handler will come into the picture in that case. If any of the type is not matching, mule default error handler will catch that exception. See, actually, source type of error is what? WSC cannot dispatch. What is the target type I used for that? App Sujit. So finally, what is the error type? App Sujit. So that error type, is it matching with the on error propagate type? Yes. So that way the logger you can see in GPN equal to propagate. Is it clear? Yes, no? If at all it is not matching, it will go to top to bottom hierarchy. Like that, you can write multiple error handlers you want. But last error handling should be any type. Clear? Is it clear to everyone?
Yeah.
Yes, no? Now, how many flows are there? Three flows. Get product by name, validate and transform, and main flow. For all these three flows, let's assume I have a same type of error handlers. Same type of logic, same type of error handlers. So, yeah, how to do that? Same error handlers. Do I need to write again and again?
No.
Not required. Can't I write globally? And we can reuse that again and again, right? So that is called error handler, global error handler. I will, whatever the common error handling handlers are there, I will take it to the global, and we need to specify this flow should act as a global error handler for all the flows in the project level. So go to the global element, create configuration, not configuration property, configuration. You need to specify from the drop down, okay, this is the error handler I want to I want to treat as a global error handler. So now what happens in this case? For every local error handler, if there is no error handler is configured, by default it will consider this global error handler as a local one for every flow. Okay, how it works in the local top to bottom hierarchy, it will check same way here also, it will check in the top to bottom hierarchy only. Okay, if you configure anything in local, it will not go to the global, remember. Okay, whether it is matching with the type, whether it is not matching with the type in the local, it will not go to the global. Okay, first priority is given to the local error handler. You may ask, if local error handler is not matching and if it is not going to the global, then who will handle that exception? Again, mule default error handler will catch the exception. So right now what I can do, I will send a request and see. So how many logs I should get now? I got exception at a consume character level. It will check in the local. Nothing is there. It will go to the global. There, here, it will check from top to bottom hierarchy. App column Sujit, is it matching? Yes, right? So, in
Yes.
GPN equal to
Yes.
propagate. Since it's the propagate, the error event is sent to validate and transform. Again, it will check in a local. Is it available? No. So, then it will go to the global. Similarly, third main flow also. How many times you got logger got executed? 3 times. Got it? Understand? Global error handler. So let's use one more propagate scope where uh, In validate and transform flow, I want to use a one more propagate scope. This time purposefully I'm not writing as a matching scope. I will write as a valid invalid boolean. Okay, which is not matching, just something else. Okay, in the logger I will write in vnt equal to propagate. Okay, so if I deploy this application, how many times the logger will get execute and how the flow works. How it works. I got an exception at a consume character level. It will check in a local. Nothing is available. It will go to the global. Propagate. The logger will get execute one time. Since it's the propagate will send to validate and transform. Again, it will check in a local. Is it matching? There is a handler. There is a handler. Is it matching? Not matching. Generally, we'll think that that error event will go to the global. No. If whether it is matching or not matching, it will not go to the global. So since it is, if it is matching, well and good, that logic will get executed. If it is not matching, then mule default error handler will read through the error to the main flow. Again in the main flow, will it check in the local? Yes. Is there anything available? No. It
No.
will go to the global. So how many times you should see the logger this time?
2 times.
Pardon? 2 times, right?
2 times.
How many times you can see the log? In GPN equal to propagate. In GPN equal to propagate 2 times. Okay. So now what I mean, I'm just giving some task to you. I want you to understand about a triscope. Any logic you can write inside a right click on that, wrap in triscope. Wrap in triscope. I want you to do that as a homework. Internally, we can catch the exception there itself. Suppose, irrespective of the is true validator how it behaves, I want to continue the transform message. What you can do? What is the handler you can configure in the error handling of a triscope?
Continue.
Continue. So please try that one. You can write any logic. You can write multiple logics also in the triscope. Okay. You can say flow inside a flow. So please try with this option from your end and let me know your observations on a Monday session.
Is it one question?
Yes.
See, when we write a global error handler and we have 3 flows, see, the
Hmm.
whole idea of writing a global error handler is like we don't want to repeat the logic multiple times in multiple flows.
Correct.
So it will execute. But
Correct.
since we don't have a local error handler in 3 subflows, when it goes to global error handler, in the case that you showed, it is in the log, it is logging 3 times, right?
Correct.
But it should have logged only 1 time, right?
No, no. See, that's what. Instead of you writing logical multiple times, right? We have written logic only one time. That is the point there.
Ah, so I want to see the log 1 time, right? So
No,
you got
by 3 times. No, for every flow, event is different, right? Sorry, for every flow, it should log the information, right? Why only one time? When it is checking in the local, that should be handled, correct? When it's checking the local, it should be handled. Who is handling that? Global error handler. Every flow is different. Otherwise, you don't need to check in the local error handler of each and every flow, right? And I mean, I don't know whether I answered your question or not. Whatever I understood
no.
is
My
like,
point is, my point is, if you write global error handler, that is like it should execute. I know it is executing 3 times for 3 flows, but in that case, like where we are logging it, the log it will show 3 times the same log only, right?
of course, every flow, for every flow, when it is matching, it will execute for every flow. Yeah,
Okay, okay,
for every flow, if it is matching,
hmm,
the logic should get executed, right?
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you can do, guys, in the softwares folder, I have given you. one PPT. Whatever I discussed till now, all the information is present in the exception handling MuleSoft originals. Please go through that. I have given multiple screenshots also of different use cases. Please analyze that. Please analyze that. Okay. Yes, Shalini.
It was by mistake, Sujit. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Okay, guys. We'll meet on Monday and let me know your observations.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.